Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffin Talk, interviews with the living, a weekly podcast that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our life. And this week, our guest is Gina Econopoulos. Oh my gosh, I even practiced it. I'm going to let you say it.
Economopoulos.
Thank you. It sounds so easy and it rolls off the tongue, and yet when I tried to do it, I am sure I'm not the first person to completely butcher your last name, but
Not at all. Not at all.
um,
No problem.
That's okay. And as someone who's through his entire life has gone through life as a Oppenheimer, even though it's Oppenheim, I
Hi.
feel a little affinity towards you. So
Yes.
anyway, thank you so much for coming on our show, Gina. I'm excited to talk to you today. And as you know, we're just all about metaphysics and your beliefs, and we're a free-flowing podcast, but we do structure our interviews around a brief biography of you and then a few questions. So if you don't mind, I'm going to talk about you in front of you. Um,
That sounds good.
Great. You were born in Syosset, New York. I'm assuming that's upstate New York. I used to live in Ithaca. To a strong Italian and Greek loving family. You graduated from Eastern Connecticut State University and bartended before embarking on a 12-year convent journey after your mother passed. And then you settled on the Jersey Shore, and now you work as an end of life doula, extending your compassionate heart to those in their final chapter. You found solace in sobriety, and you're a proud Alcoholics Anonymous member, and your story of resilience through tragedy and faith inspires others to face life's challenges. I have 20 million questions to ask about everything I just read, but I will start with the basic three as promised. How old are you? I already read it in the biography. Where did you grow up? And what generation, if any, do you consider yourself a member of?
Um, I have to remember, I'm 57, born in 67, so I'm assuming I'm 57 now. It's Long Island, Syosset, New York. I grew up on Long Island, and I wouldn't know what my generation, but I did kind of Google it, and I think I'm Generation X. I never heard of any of that, so I would say Generation X.
Awesome. And that's actually my favorite approach to the question is just hearing how people even contemplate it because I am on a mission to get rid of the generation talk. I just feel like it's unnecessarily divisive. We have enough things dividing us here on Earth. So do we really need another? um,
Yeah.
so let's start with like the most basic question because I think end of life doula is a term that I, of course, as a host of a podcast called Coffin Talk, understand. But I think there's probably a lot of people out there who probably don't even know what a doula is, let alone an end of life doula. So I'll let you explain your title however you want to.
Yes, end of life doula is a non-medical, it's a holistic approach to those who are dying, is to be present to the dying as well as their families during their difficult time, trying to bring peace from those who are passing on from this life to the next, a transition time. And yes, so it's a great joy, it's a great honor, and it's a gift for me to be present with those who do die and to be present with their families to bring them a peace to their life and to their heart, God willing. That's my goal is when I'm working with someone, not working but helping them going from this life to the next. So
That's a great answer, and thank you. I did hospice care for a few years, and we had a program called 11th Hour. I'm curious, are you like coming in at the 11th hour and meeting the person, or do you come in earlier? Like, what's the time frame for when you meet someone?
it all depends, and right now, death is like kind of like a voodoo. Like people don't want to talk about it, and end of life doula is a voodoo. It's fear, which is natural. I mean, and it's really natural for people not wanting someone to come in their place because they know that their loved one is dying. So, um, yes, it all depends. It could be for the day. It could be like, hey, Gina, can you come over, etc. I have a friend or a friend. Could you? And usually, what I do is when somebody does call me, they want information, meet and greet. This is what I can do my service for you. I mean, I could do anything except for giving medicine or anything like that. And whatever, and I kind of feel it out. I kind of listen, follow my spirit, follow, okay, where they're at, where their faith's at, where they think they're going. Ain't, there's so much emotions that are come up. when you're with someone who's dying in their families, because some may have a faith saying yes, some may not. And fear, like I said, you could sense the fear, you could sense maybe some anger, like especially if the person is young and so forth. So I kind of like go in and look at the situation and just do really follow their lead. Like what do you want? Do you want me to be here and be quiet?
Hmm.
I do share that I was a former nun, so sometimes it gives someone some solace, some comfort. Oh, I have a former nun, by my dead side, and maybe I'll go to hell or go. I've been a bad person my whole life, and maybe I have someone praying or whatever their needs are, whatever they can do, and if I can do it, I will. I will be present to them, however they see fit for them, because it's
Hmm.
their time, it's their opportunity.
Hmm.
So, and it's their life, even with the family.
Hmm.
It's going to bring a memory to them. It's going
Hmm.
to keep them where the others will pass forward and the others. So I'm also there for those who are grieving. I'm a great griefer. That grieving was like one of my best friends throughout life. So
Hmm.
it's just through experience of my own personal grief of losing someone
Hmm.
and so yeah, so I kind of leave it in their hands as well as in God's hands. I just pray, okay, God, what do you want?
That was fantastic, and you said a lot of things that really touched me, and I want to kind of unravel them. So I think I'll start with you did use the term intuition, and I liked the way you used it. So I'm assuming that even though you did live in a convent and you were within, I'm going to assume the Catholic religion, you kind of
Yes.
are you more of like a intuition first, like human named God second? Like, does that make any sense? What I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, no, that does make sense. Yes, I was a Catholic nun for 12 years, and that's where I developed a great love and a passion to be with the dying. Because in my faith, like growing up, I was raised Catholic, and growing up, there's a heaven and there's a hell. In my convent days, somehow God just put that grace in my heart where I was with many people from all ages. They're on their deathbed, and I just loved it because I knew where they were going. I knew where peace peace wherever they think they are, wherever it is peace. We could have peace in this life. I'm not saying we can't, but for me and my faith and what I believe, there's peace in another world. Whether it's Havana, Savannah, Juana, whoever they may think that there's a peace. So really, being a sister kind of built me up and put a seed in my heart to do this. And then yeah, I left the sisterhood about 12, 13 years ago, and I continue my journey. And then in my journey, there was a time that I hated God in my journey because I had lost my fiance to death a month before our wedding day.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And that was back in 2012, 2013. So he was the alcoholic. So
Okay.
to make a real long story short, there was a time in my life, not that I didn't believe, but I just hated God. I didn't want nothing to do with nobody, with God or anything. But yet, God did for me what I couldn't do for myself and brought me into the rooms of AA, realizing, wow, I'm an alcoholic, and realizing I had a spiritual experience, not a religious, but a spiritual. So God willing, in April, I'll have 10 years of sobriety. So, but in these last 10 years, I built my spiritual heart to heart relationship with God. And now the religion comes back into place, of heaven and earth, heaven and this life. And that's where about a few years ago, because people knew that the desire of being present to those who are dying, because now I have a spiritual connection with God, a real, and my faith, also the religious part. Wow, I know where people go, where I know where I'm going, and I believe where people are going to a real peaceful place, And so a friend of mine a few years ago says, "Did you ever hear of an end of life doula?" And I was like, "No, what is that?" And they said, you could be certified and be with those who are dying. And I go, "Oh my God, I could have been rich by now because I
Yeah.
was."
Yeah.
But not only that, Mike, it's such a joy. It's a passion. I can't explain it. And I don't
Mhm.
say much to many people because like, how could you? Like, because like I shared, death, fear, nobody, really nobody really wants to die in
Yeah.
this life, especially if they're having a good life, or especially a young person, especially, those who have a whole life ahead of them and they die tragically and like that. So I kind of, as I said, I discern, I share. So I did. I got my certification, a piece of paper, which yes, I went to schooling for it. I had a mentor, but I kind of knew all about it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew from through my experience. I just knew when it comes to paperwork, when it comes to like other documents that the family may ask me to say, hey, do you know what a power attorney, this and this document? I would, I do know that, and
Hmm.
I could help them out in that aspect. And if I don't, I'll ask somebody, hey, could you help me out? Or can I direct them to someone who's very expertise in this? See, I'm more expertise of my prayer time and being with the person who is dying, and I have no problem holding their hand, being with them at their last breath, even if it's staying, if they say, can you stay overnight? Yes, yes, yes. If I would, that's, it's a passion. And also, Mike, it's a passion. I really I don't mind going to wakes and funerals
Hmm.
because there are times, many times I experience I'm walking into heaven. Can't explain it.
Hmm.
Like I'm walking into like, oh my, and I'm praying by their coffin. Coffin
Hmm.
talks, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's just well, many times. There was only about maybe a few that the coffin didn't really talk to me, but the all the other times the coffin
Hmm.
exhumed peace. And if I knew the person in a different way, like somehow I get a connection with them.
And so
It's just
do you do you have like a real like determined focus on like where we go when we die? This is like the other question I always ask our guests. Like, do you because you mentioned a lot of possibilities and peace and like here on Earth, I felt it. So, what exactly do you picture for yourself, for example?
Well, I picture when I die, when my last breath, whenever it is that I will be embracing Jesus, and then I would be seeing. I got so many people up there; they're going to be standing in line and welcoming me. And I truly believe, because I've experienced here on earth, that it's just a place of love, a place of forgiveness. It's just I can't, like I said, it's just a personal experience that I can't explain. I do believe it's a gift from God that I know it's a much better place than here. For me,
Hmm.
and I know that there's a, like finally, like
Yeah, yeah.
relaxation.
Do you
And go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Do you feel like there's a purpose for why we're like so you said something that sticks in a good way with me, which is it's better than here. And using the word better is of course a judgment value. So like you are judging Earth or at least comparing it to like what's beyond here. I agree with you. I get a very because of hospice, I've helped people die.
Mhm.
I'm not a death duelist, so don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to peacock, but I am just relating to you
Yeah.
that I've been a bartender and I've been involved in hospice. So we have those two things in common for sure. And
Yes.
my philosophy was always that the person looked very peaceful as they finally left. It was always like, or not my
Yeah.
philosophy, my impression. So I agree with you, but I am curious. I'm not from the Catholic faith. I was not raised with any religion, but I do feel like there's a purpose to being a human and being here. And I'm curious if you feel that, A, and B, if you would elaborate on it if you do.
Yes, I do. I believe there is a purpose. And I believe for me, what I'm saying about it's a better life and everything, it comes back from my faith. It comes from the scriptures. It comes, and to be honest with you, Mike, about 33 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. She was in hospice. I'm from one of 8 kids, but I was the one with her. I and she had bone cancer, terminally ill, 4 to 6 months to live. I did everything I could to save her, and I didn't save her. She died in 5 months. Now, I was brought up with Catholic religion, but I didn't have that faith. So I was 23, hard time, dark time, and I felt like for me personally, what is hell on earth is having no faith, no hope, no love, no God. So I had experienced that existence in here in this life for me. Like, and then my journey continued. I found God. I found the resurrection after mom's death. That's why I joined the sisters, went through the sisterhood, got kicked out of the sisterhood. This is another story in itself. But
I'm definitely gonna have to ask you about that, just to be clear.
and then as I continue, but honestly, when after with my mom's death, when I was searching for the meaning of life and the purpose of life, that's where I received really the resurrection the first time around. Like, there's a heaven. Wow, mom, why do I want you here when you're in a better place?
Oh, wow, that's
And
powerful. Hey everyone, if you're a fan of the show, please head over to mikeyop.com and click the subscribe button. It's the best way to support us, and it's free. That's MIKEYOPP.com. Thanks.
yes, and I had that experience at a what you would say a pilgrimage site,
Hmm.
like the Blessed Mother, an apparition like Our Lady of Fatima. It was really Our Lady of Medjugorje, which is it's not approved yet, but this is going back 1993.
Hmm.
So when I had this experience being in this pilgrim site where the Blessed Mother allegedly appeared, I tasted heaven. I was like, oh my God, this is heaven. And this was the time where the war was going on in Croatia. You hear the war, but I can't explain, you felt peace. So that's where my journey is saying, okay, mom, you're in heaven. This is and then I adopted Blessed Mother as being my second mother. So as my journey continued, that's when I became a nun, left the nunnery. And when I left the nunnery, I was in a bad place again because I was, one would say, emotionally abused and everything like that from being a nun. I still believed in God. God was still there, but I was very angry, broken, hurt, you name it. And then as it continued, I met Danny, an alcoholic. He ended up dying from the disease. So I'm like, okay, God, this is it. Forget it. And that's where really when I came into the rooms of AA, God brought me to the rooms of AA and AA brought me back to God. And then being back with God in a spiritual way, I I experience now I have hope, I have faith, I have love, and I have God. Because even when Danny died, even though I was a nun prior, I was in hell again. No hope, no faith, no love, no God. And so those are my two experience of in my life that I've experienced. But today, I can participate in life. I have God, I have hope, I have faith, and I love, and I like to, share that with others. And that's where the end of life do like, oh, I could do both, I could help someone out and really believe in my heart that it's a great place to go in my heart.
No, that's
So,
great. I really appreciate that, and I'm always intrigued by people in recovery and people who go to AA in particular, but also just the idea of being sober. And so I don't know if you're tracking in America right now, but alcohol sales have been plummeting and they're just going down, down, down. And even like stock market people are saying it's not coming back. Like Gen Z, the youngest generation. I know I ironically just brought up a generation, but what they call
that's
Gen Z,
fine.
people under 25 are just not drinking the way your generation, my generation, anyone older did. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not here to discuss that part of
Yeah.
life, but I am curious, do you have a tip for people who don't technically have a drinking problem and never will, but have a drinking problem? I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to relate. There's like
Yeah.
people who like life forces them into sobriety. Like they wake up with a broken collarbone in the ER and it's just like a clear rock bottom and then it's kind of easy air quotes, giant air quotes to at least consider sobriety after that. But there's a lot of people who like I said something bad to a coworker, but in general, I don't have a problem. I know this is sort of like degrading my health and making me unpleasant, but like, everyone else drinks. Like, do you have any advice for those kind of people?
Uh, I mean, there's the only advice I could really share with anyone who drinks or doesn't drink. I mean, you'll know if you're an alcoholic. The alcohol takes over.
Okay.
It takes over. So if you're like thinking to yourself, well, I'm gonna just drink beer instead of wine because this happened like that, then I would start thinking about yourself, like, okay, maybe, when you have how do you say it? Like when you kind of juggle it,
Okay,
when you're
yeah.
thinking, yeah, I mean, what's more important? Is the alcohol important than your kids or something like that, you know?
Mhm.
And for as being an alcoholic, it's the craving. It's a phenomenal craving that we just can't stop drinking,
Okay,
you know? And when you pick up one drink, if you could just say to yourself, okay, I pick up one drink, you don't drink the rest of the night or everything, okay, then maybe you're not an alcoholic, and that's great. You can enjoy that drink.
okay,
But when you're an alcoholic, you can't enjoy it because that one drink leads, they always say the first drink gets you drunk, which means when you have that first drink, you're gonna have another one, and if you're a true, if you're an alcoholic, if you have the disease,
hmm
but it's not curable, but you can live a life of sobriety. You could live a 12-step program to help you. Like, yeah, I'll always be an alcoholic. I can't pick up a drink. As long as I don't pick up a drink, I could live life,
that's really
And
great, and thank you. That was very helpful, and I think I'm attracted to the idea of sobriety and to people who do it because I think it's just obvious by the results that these people are in general happier than people who not only just have a drinking problem, but even just people in the middle. So that's why I'm always asking.
mm,
There's like a fascination, and also I am not a problem drinker, and I rarely at this point drink. I have two little kids, and like you said, it
yeah.
would get in the way of my actual goals in life, but. I did bartend. I grew up in drinking culture. My parents enjoy drinking, and like I've definitely experienced as a bartender, as I'm sure you did. I've seen some awful, awful things. I've just seen some real bad stuff that I think a lot of people who only go to bars when they're drinking would maybe pass over or not notice. So thank you for that answer, and thank you for how you explained it. I did ask you to. I told you I was going to ask you to share the story of why you left the comment. You said you were forced out. Is there anything like intriguing or interesting about that, or do you want to share that? I
Yeah.
don't want to force
No,
you.
I don't mind sharing because I wrote my book, my memoir, Shake
Oh,
the Dust
great.
Off Your Feet and Walk. It's available on Amazon.
Yeah,
So
please.
I'm
Yeah.
open book. I'm
All
an
right,
open
cool.
book.
There will be
But
a link to that,
anyhow,
by the way. So,
that's
yeah.
fine. That's great. But I mean, because my message is to spread the message of hope and strength because I've been through a lot of experience, but we all do. We all can write a story. But with me, when I entered, I'm like, yes, this is it. This is it. I made final vows. This is it. This is it. But yet I learned towards the end of my sisterhood, religious life, I was experiencing a lot of pain and suffering from the hands of the sisters. I felt rejection. I felt like my personality was being crushed. I had a different spirit. And in hindsight, because we look in hindsight, because at that time, I wasn't aware of many things of my life. I wasn't aware that I was an alcoholic because I look back now, the disease was there, cunning, baffling, insidious, without me realizing it. I mean, I didn't realize I was an alcoholic until my late 40s, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I kind of like was a denying, I was running and everything like that. So I see how I was kind of running into the comments, looking for love. I was
Mhm.
looking for love. And I thought that was it, but I didn't find the love. And yes, I received some hardship from the community. I was shipped out, I was sent away, and then finally I did everything I could. I was isolated, I was betrayed, you name it. And I was experiencing all this pain. And then finally at the end, which because I had made final vows and you would any marriage couple, it was a marriage to me. I
Mhm.
married the church, I married God, and I married the community. So when you're struggling and when you have your final commitment, you do everything you can. Go to counseling. I did. I said I was sent to, like I said, everything. I did so much. But then in the long run, at the end, the community says, well, you don't belong here anymore. Those are the last words. After putting 12 years of all of my blood, sweat, and tears, and also everybody loved me. How could you not? I mean, with a habit on, without a habit, they all loved Gina. They all loved Sister Regina. I was always the most friendly, outgoing, caring, and by nature I did. I always did. I always have a heart of caring, and especially like I said, during the sisterhood, they'd call me Sister Death because anytime somebody said, hey, could you visit this one, this, it could be Johnny's uncle's friend, whoever visit, they end up dying whether I'm there or when I leave. And so some people says, don't call Sister Regina to my bedside. Don't call her. And that was just something because I was very well loved, very popular among the lay people, among, and but the sisters, though I always say they love me the way they love pizza, and I'm being honest here, Mike,
Hmm.
because when you get women under a convent roof of 12 women, there's jealousy, there's everything, you're all working on yourself, you're pinpointing this pin, and I was very by nature like, yeah, whatever, 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 it was more of the heart than and I'm not judging them. This is
Hmm.
this is how
No,
it
I don't
was.
hear that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, this is how they was. This is my experience. So when I write this experience in my book, which I go in details of what took place, it's my experience. Nothing against the church. It's nothing. It's just my personal experience. And at the same time, Mike, it's been such a gift for me because thank God I'm not there anymore. Thank God that, it was sort of like a stopping ground. Like, nope, because I was always looking for that freedom within me. And it's like, okay, move forward, And then I thought that was it, but then, other twists and turns of my life. But today, I have to say, I'm most happiest place where I am. I could be Gina. Gina knows who Gina is, and then I could be with those present, and that passion just is like, wow, I still have that passion. I still have it. That never ended of being present to the dying, going to wakes, being just being there, just being for those. And I really believe when I say I could live heaven on earth, heaven for me in my faith, it's just a veil away. It's just a
Hmm.
veil away. It's like a hidden veil.
Hmm.
It's a hidden veil. So like I said, I got my parents up there, I got Danny, I got so many people up there that sometimes I'll be sitting on the couch and I just say, okay, I know you guys are here because it's just a veil away. They're rooting me on. They're encouraging me. They're
That's
loving me. No?
That's so interesting to me, and I agree with you because I like to study the philosophies of all the religions. So I don't study religion; I study the philosophies of the religion, and I'm making that clear because I'm not an expert. But the philosophy of Buddhism matches what you just said, which is the path to no suffering is on Earth. It's not beyond Earth, but the trick
Yeah.
is to see what suffering really is, and then to like
Yeah.
understand that there's purpose here. So I am intrigued, and I like your answer a lot. And another thing you said that evoked my next question is you're still clearly of the Catholic faith, but you're not a fan of your experience in the institution. And I think this is something that's happening all over the world. I think there's people who are having trouble with the institution that represents the values and beliefs they have. So without getting, I'm not forcing you to get political or in any way talk
Yeah.
about anything specific, but I am curious if you would recommend your path as a possible approach to like just meeting in the middle, that like perhaps the institution is not something you want to be like heavily involved in to the point where you're in a convent, but you can still have faith in the overall books
Yeah.
and stuff. Does that make sense?
No, no, that totally makes sense. Now, I mean, I really consider myself as a Catholic Christian. Like I more reading the Bible and reading the Word and incorporating that in my life, as well as working the 12-step program. I have it all. Yes, do I go to church once in a while? Do I believe in the Catholic faith? Yes, I do. But yet, when somebody will approach me and question me, I just say, go with your heart. Find where your peace at. I mean, and just keep moving because God has a plan. I do. I believe God has a plan, and each day our story gets unfolded. It gets unfolded every day, one day at a time, one day at a time. And I have also learned, and I've learned a lot more in the rooms than I did as a convent. To be honest, like I'm more
Yeah.
closer to God now in my relationship, a heart to heart spiritual relationship than I was as a nun. And then I'm not discrediting
Hmm.
as a nun because that's who I was at the time. I wasn't open. I didn't know who really I was. So today, knowing that yes, I'm an alcoholic. I have a program, but I'm a child of God. Like I came back to my full identity. I'm a child of God and a sober woman of faith today. So that helps me to be who I am today. And what I've also learned is that all I have is today.
Hmm.
All I have is today. So when I'm in today, my God is present
Hmm.
or something greater. And so when I do talk to someone or somebody shares about faith or God, I just say there's something greater out there that's not Gina, that's not Mike, that's not Johnny, that's not Bobby, that's a higher power that we all have to be in touch with. I don't care who it was. It could be the tree, it could be this, but it's not you. It is totally not you, and it's not me. And when I get in my way, forget it. That's where the pain and the suffering and all that comes
Oh my
in.
gosh, I love that answer. We're running out of time, but I do have
Yeah.
like a quick question to ask you before my last question, which is because you mentioned life unfolding, it got me back on the track that I'm always trying to figure out, which is do you believe that life is predetermined and it's possible to know what would happen in the future, or do you feel like it's like entirely free will?
I I think it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean I do believe God allows things in our life to bring other things into focus or bring us back on path. But I do believe if I practice being in the present, that's all I need to be. I don't need to know what's going to happen an hour from now. If I know because God's with me today, right now. So tomorrow I have plans. We'll see, because they say you tell God, you make him laugh like that. You tell him your plans, you
Yeah.
make him laugh. So
Great. Well, thank you so much. My last question for you is the only other question I ask every guest, which is I like to give my guests the floor and just kind of have the last word on what they want to tell my audience. In addition to finding your book on Amazon and buying it, which there will be a link, what else would you like to tell my audience?
I would like to tell them that if nobody told you you're loved, I do. You are loved today, and do not give up, and you're not alone. And there is light always in the end of the tunnel, and always in all situations. So just believe in. Yeah, and do not be discouraged and do not lose hope.
Oh, I love it.
And
That's
I do have a website if people want to learn more,
Mhm.
or if people want to have more questions, deep questions, I'm there. Or if somebody says my son is dying, what can I'm there. It's GinaEcon.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone listening. Please visit Gina's website. Please also, if you're interested in her book, go to Amazon and support her. We love when our audience supports our guests, and we love when our audience supports us. But we are just all about spreading the exact message you just left us with, which is please don't lose faith. Please keep loving, and please learn how to love yourself. And if you need help, there's people like Gina out there who will help you love yourself. This show is designed to help you do that. And, there's tons of people out there, but I do like your focus and your energy. And I didn't have time to ask you a joke question, which was actually serious about the movie Sister Act, but I feel like if they make a fourth one, you are definitely the person they should be casting. And
I agree.
you are definitely Gina, like the way you described. I totally see it. I learned it within like 5 minutes of meeting you. So thank you, Gina. Thank you for coming into my life and coming into my world. And thank you for treating our guests to your story and to your passion for life in this moment. For everyone watching at home, once again, you can always find Gina on the web. There will be links in the podcast bio. And if you want to support our show, the only way to do that is to head over to mikeyop.com. That's MIKEYOPP.com and sign up for the free once a week newsletter, essay, cartoon, whatever it is that I decide to send that week. And thank you again, Gina. Thank you to our audience.
Thank you, Mike. And thank
Yeah,
you to all your listeners for listening.
absolutely. Once again, my name is Mike Oppenheim. You have been listening or watching Coffin Talk, and we will see you soon.